Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to show you the one thing that you can easily do to your lawnmower to make it perform better, but also it's going to last longer and it'll have an increased resale value if you ever were to resell it. Do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, let's get started. Guys, what I'm going to tell you to do, it's not involving the engine oil or air filter or fuel filter, but what do those three things need to have commonly done? They need to be cleaned or changed. That's what you need to do to your mower. Keeping it clean is the one thing that you can easily do that's going to make it perform better and last a lot longer. Guys, keep in mind your mower's exposed to a lot of harsh conditions, dust, rocks, sand, things like that, but keeping it clean, like between these gears. Appetizer example, these steering gears, sand and rock get in between them, they wear out faster. Pretty simple. But the one thing that most people always overlook is keeping the deck clean. And these mowers, you guys, these mowers are super expensive now. I mean, they're starting off, a mower like this is over $2,000. That deck, if you had to replace that deck shell, the deck on this one's around $1,000, and on the John Deere's as well. Some of them may come with the components or not, but just imagine if you have to replace that deck. Now, two things that happen the most. One, people bend them by hitting something with the blades like a root. And I'll have customers, I only hit something once or twice. I'm like, man, that's all it takes. It's all it takes is hitting something once or twice and it's going to bend the deck shell. So now you'll have to have that either replaced or fixed. But the more common issue that I see, and it kind of frustrates me because customers, they always say, well, it's just a lawnmower. Why, I'm not going to keep it clean. I'm like, well, yeah, it's a lawnmower, but you also just talked about how expensive it is. These decks are expensive. And when you don't clean off all this grass and debris and you have a stamped deck that's letting that water sit and you're storing it outside, you're not cleaning that deck, it's going to get corroded. I've actually seen customers bring in mowers. They're convinced nothing's wrong with their deck, but they'll have so much dirt and debris, they'll actually have grass and the things can't move, like nothing can move. And they're like, because they have like these little, you got your tensioner pulley and things like that. And the belt oftentimes will come in contact with the deck, exposing bare metal. And so once you have bare metal getting with moisture and just, you might have salty, sandy areas like we are here in Florida. And that's just going to expedite that corrosion. And corrosion repairs on decks is something I commonly do. And I mostly work on commercial mowers. So those guys, they kind of expect it. They realize their mowers are in bad conditions, sandy situations, or other parts of the country you might have rocky conditions. And that would just sandblast your deck. So just keep an eye on that. And the best thing to do, if you have around, 100 hours on it, on your mower, I would highly recommend taking that deck completely off and make sure you sand it and paint it, because it will sneak up on people. And residential customers, they never think their mower has any rust. They never can believe it, that their mower deck has rusted through, until I have to show them. I have to scrape back all the dirt and debris and mud and show them the rust and the holes. And let me show you some examples. So a customer of mine that's a commercial landscaper, he recently purchased this John Deere 717A, and he was worried about the corrosion in front of this spindle, which is correct because he was about to lose this spindle if we don't brace this up. You can see how that big hole right there. And so right now what I'm doing is I'm about to basically cut out a lot of this old deck and replace it with 1/4-inch material. And I'm having to mark where the front bolts are for this spindle because he's about to lose that spindle if he cuts grass much longer. So this ended up being a pretty costly repair. And what makes these deck repairs so costly is the amount of time. It's dirty work. It takes skill. You have to pay attention to what you're doing. It's critical to where those pulleys and idlers go. And there's always just more and more welding that needs to be done. More corrosion to be found, like on the back of this, on the right-hand spindle, on the back side of that one, on the same mower. So just guys, keep it clean. And one thing, a dealer isn't going to do this type of repair. They're going to just want to sell you either a new mower or a whole new deck, new components. And then if you do swap out components, you got the labor of the technician to swapping out that component. And it's also expensive to pay someone like me or a welder or repair shop to weld this deck. It's very time consuming, dirty work, skilled work. It's not going to be cheap. And that last repair costs more than what this mower's worth, this Craftsman T1200. What it's worth in this used condition. You can see here, corrosion has let that idler pulley cut down into the deck. And so I had to remove the deck and fix that. All right, guys, so I got the deck flipped over and the customer came by and I showed him what was going on here, how he bought this off a Facebook Marketplace and somebody, he said, yeah, guy just fixes them up and resells them. And so do I sometimes, but I don't patch them up with a piece of metal and rivet them in. As you can see along this side of this spindle here, he's got another patch. Hard to see if you're going to look at the mower with this being underneath the deck, but some warning signs that you could have maybe asked some questions about were all these rivets right here. Now they look, you probably wouldn't look at it if you didn't know any better and think that was anything unusual. And this repair, it's just as critical where I have to make sure I put that pulley right in the right spot for that belt. But we're just going to get this fixed up so he can get to cutting grass again. He's not really worried about the rest of the deck. Right now, he's going to start looking for a replacement mower. And when you're doing like welding, especially like these deck repairs, the amount of preparation, the time and the preparation it takes just to get to the welding part is 99% of it. That's 99% of the work. It's just cutting the pieces, laying them out, getting everything tacked up and placed in the proper position. And I can promise you most dealers don't even have a guy that can weld for anything. They don't train them how to weld unless they've taken some courses themselves, like I did 20, 50, or 25 years ago, whatever it was. That makes you a highly skilled mechanic. Welding is a great skill to get into. Highly recommend it. Probably going to start doing some more videos on that soon. But we got this one back fixed. You can charge about $100 an hour for these type of repairs, and we got the mower cutting great again. Customer's very happy. Told him you're on borrowed time with the rest of that deck, so I'm only, basically covering what section that I did there. Now, this is another mower deck. You can see it looks very clean, but after I removed it and cleaned it all off with the shop vac, you can see all these rusty spots where it's coming, moisture's getting underneath the paint, and it's just going to spread. And if you don't keep that mower clean, it's going to go really fast. So just remove all the components. If you have about 100 hours, like I said, on a residential mower, I would recommend removing all the components and just cleaning that deck really good, top and bottom. Spray some oven cleaner on the bottom, help use a pressure washer on the bottom, get all that stuff down, and then just paint it. And just like I mentioned with welding, the preparation is everything, and so it is with painting. You want to make sure you get all that grease and dirt, get down to that bare metal, and I'm using my Stihl RE90 electric pressure washer. It does a great job. All right, so now that it's dry, I'm gonna give you guys, take a look. It might look super dirty still, but it's pretty smooth. There are a few spots where I'll probably take a wire brush. It's a little rough right here. But here's what is the most concerning as far as the corrosion. Right over here and on this would be the left hand, the front, on the left hand spindle. We got lots of deep corrosion. Not too deep, so I'm just gonna put a good prime and paint job on that to stop the corrosion from going any further. And this is a good part where you can see if that stress, as this gets weakened with corrosion and the stress of that blade spinning, and especially if it hits something, this is your strength right here. Just this dished out in this stamped deck here. Don't grind these threads down. That's for your bolts for your steel spindle covers. So I'm not really going for looks. I mean, I am a little bit for that resale value, but I'm mostly going for corrosion prevention. So I'm not really caring about sanding down the factory paint down to bare metal, but I do want to blend it in as best I can. So I'm taking a palm sander and then setting it out, wash it with soap and water, set it out to dry, and then you can just spray it. You can either rattle can it, or I'm using one of my favorite new spray guns. It's a battery powered airless, well, it's electric spray gun. It kind of creates its own air, but it does really well. In other words, it acts just like a corded spray gun, the airless corded spray guns, except you don't have to mess around with a cord or air hose. And this thing will cover a ton of square footage and gives a great smooth finish. I do recommend getting a spare battery just in case your battery runs out while you're painting or cleaning up the spray gun.
One coat. Total time, not perfect, but for corrosion, we're going pretty good, doing pretty good.
So here's what that deck looked like after 2 coats. It looked really good. And guys, this is a great job for those of you that work for yourself, do this type of work, bush hogs, trailers. I've done this for years and years, and you can make a killing, especially in the spring and fall, during the off season. You can do this type of repair, just make some ads on Craigslist, Facebook, whatever, and you can find restoration work like this, or just buy something used and restore it, sell it. You know, for a little side profit. And trailers are always in need of this type of repair, in addition to mowers. I've never understood why so many people think that mowers just don't need to be cleaned. For some reason, everything else needs to be cleaned, but they're like, my mower? Clean my mower deck? What? You know, let me show you what you need to do, how easy it is. Just blow it off with air. Just get it clean. Just get it clean. If you use a water hose, that's fine. Just use a water hose, but dry it off. Clean the bottom of the deck. Expect that occasionally. And a lot of things, you know, you'll find you'll solve a lot of problems just by inspecting and cleaning your mower often. I can't tell you how many times people have wasted thousands of dollars just by they just didn't look at something. You know, whether it be a stick or a shirt wrapped up around a spindle, you know, the blades or everything, and it's just burning up the belt. And they're like, what is going on? I'm like, well, the belt, you know, you didn't even look underneath, and you just have like a towel wrap around the blade. It's just real simple stuff like that, guys. But just use a leaf blower, air compressor. If you use a water hose, dry it off with a towel or air or something, whatever. That's the best way to do it. Just and go ahead and go around the engine and just blow air down into the engine, get all that cleaned out. Clean around the battery, your mower. I see mowers all the time on Facebook Marketplace. Either the shell's gone or it's corroded away, and they're asking, you know, $500 less than a brand new one. I'm like, you got to be absolutely crazy. And without a deck, the mower's useless. I mean, it's a little lawn tractor, I guess, if you don't need to cut grass, but most people are buying a lawnmower to cut grass. And without that deck, you're not going to be cutting any grass. All right, number 2 reason you need to keep your mower clean, and it's also probably the second most common reason or common costly repair I see when people don't keep their mowers clean, is you'll have engine problems. So as all that grass, as you're cutting and all that grass is going around, blowing around everywhere, and your air-cooled engine is needing this air to go around these cylinders, and they have this shroud. You don't want to remove these shrouds or run the mower without them on, I should say. I'm going to take this spark plug off right here. So you see those fins? Air needs to pass through those, and it needs these shields, right, to let the air go on up. It sucks that air up and cools the engine, right? As that grass gets accumulated, you'll start getting overheated engine. You'll have a cylinder head overheat, get bad head gasket, bent push rods, just a mess. Keep it clean, and also keeping it clean is also going to help you spot any oil leaks, because that oil will start leaking, and then all that dust and debris just kind of covers it up, soaks it up, and it kind of creates like a coat of like a coat on it basically, and keeps it hotter and hotter and hotter. All right guys, so here's a look with the cover off of it. And this is the Kohler 7022 horsepower engine, by the way. So you can see where, as the engine's rotating, we have this fan right on top of the flywheel, and that's what's, pulling all that air, that cool air, pushing it down, and you can see all the air passages right along. So our push rods are going right through there. Here's our intake. And so this is our head, and if that gets hot, like you don't want that cylinder, this is part of the block. And you could crack that block or just cause all kinds of problems. I've seen snakes, frogs, mice, lizards, whatever, mice building nests in here. So it's just really good to keep it really clean, blow it out often, and you'll prevent all types of costly repairs. And don't try to leave these off, take these off, or drill holes in them or anything. They need to be intact the way they are from the factory to cool the engine properly. Now routinely you need to remove these shrouds and blow some air or clean it out. Don't use water on the engine. Cleaning that. It's fine to rinse your engine off once it's cool, but just avoid all the electrical components. And again, I've got videos showing disconnect those components, blow them out with air if you do get water into them or dirt, and I would actually do that regularly. Just to keep everything clean. Again, keeping it clean is very important. Bad connections, that's another thing. Just didn't even think about that when starting this video. Like, dirty connections on the battery and battery connections, all that mess. Disconnect them, blow them out, spray them with WD-40, blow them out. The WD-40 will not hurt it, and you'll put it back on, it'll work perfectly. But yeah, the electrical connections, that's the third. Didn't even think about that, so I'm adding another one. The connections on the battery terminals and all these other connections, they get dirty and stuff stops working. You can blow that out with compressed air, WD-40, spray WD-40 in there, blow it out, and that'll keep those working good. Just like all these connections, they get dirty and corroded. So it's just corrosions, that's just keeping it clean, basically keeping your mower clean. Now, finally, the fourth thing I'm gonna bring up, and this is what I already had planned, the transmission. So what kills the engine and the transmissions are heat. All right, or lack of oil, they build up the heat. Lack of oil, they're gonna overheat without the oil. Oil helps lubricate and cool them. But anyway, that grass and dirt and debris gets all over on top of those transmissions. You got that fan on top of that transmission, and it's air cooled as well. You can see how it's dirty. And most transmissions I see, I can't even see the transmission up here. It'll have an oil leak, and they just have a year's worth of dirt and debris accumulated, but this right here is important to keep it cool, and with all that dirt and crud in there, it can't cool nearly as well. So guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video, and now you can see why I just so strongly recommend for everyone to keep their equipment clean, not just your mower, just everything. Keep it clean, greased up. I'm not saying avoid the maintenance, but keeping it clean is just an additional thing that you need to do. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Do me a favor, hit the like button on this video. I'm doing a long-term test on Flex Seal on that Cub Cadet mower. I rolled black Flex Seal on that mower deck, top and bottom, and I'm going to be doing a long-term review on that. I'll have a video on that probably in about 6 months or a year or so, or unless it starts falling off and degrading. But check out my other past videos. I got several videos that will help you save money, just like this one, guys. I promise you, you keep your mower clean, it's going to run better, last longer, and you're going to have much better resale value. But it's just going to do so much better for you while you have it. And like the mowers, every mower that was in this video had hours. Like those two residential mowers, the Cub Cadet and that Craftsman, had over 200 hours on them. And a lot of times I don't see mowers like residential riding lawn tractors like that. Usually the average owner, from what I would see, from what I see as a mower mechanic and when I was at the dealers, 150 hours, they're done. That was the average. Mower's done. Just people just do not do the maintenance. They don't change the oil. They don't change the oil filter, the air filter, or the fuel filter. You need to do all of that in addition to keeping it clean for all this to work out for you guys. So anyway, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll have more videos like this coming soon. Thanks for watching.